All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Bahasham Rakar double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. And this is going to be a video on how there's a whole story in the Bible, right? There's a whole story in the Bible that Christianity does not talk about and does not mention, right? And what's made me do this video is I was watching some of the videos that one of the elders had put out there where you had this demon god logic trying to like debate with the Hebrew Israelites, and it was absolutely disgusting because I could see that he really wishes to steal the aura, to steal like the spirit that the Hebrew Israelites come with, because he actually called Vocab Malone Ak in the video. I just was like, this guy is disgusted. Like he's trying to copy what the Hebrew Israelites do, right? And he's literally wishes that he had that kind of spirit on him, man. Like they're playing catch up, trying to copy everything that the Hebrew Israelites do. It's absolutely disgusting, and he's got that stupid smile that he's got on his face. His smile is annoying, man. He had a wooden spoon there, and I'm like, what the fuck's this guy got a wooden spoon for? He brought a wooden spoon. Like, this guy's a clown. He brought a wooden spoon, came out there, and then whenever he thinks he's caught someone with the scriptures, he grabs the spoon and starts spinning it in the air, I guess to show, oh, I'm cooking you. You're getting cooked. Like, mate, are you a dickhead, bro? The Bible's not no joke to try and play around with and be doing things for vain glory and deceit, man. Just learn the doctrine and let people know what it is. That's the overall goal, man. But this guy's trying to become famous or something like that, thinking that he's got some kind of following or something like that when he's a clown. Because outside of the Hebrew Israelites, if people start asking him what's in the Bible, what's going on in the Bible, he ain't got nothing to say. To my knowledge, he ain't preparing nobody for the MOTB or for the destruction of America or for the global collapse of all these first world societies, first world countries to just fall. He's not preparing people on the way how the financial system is going to be changed and become completely 100% cashless, and what that's going to lead to regarding prophecy in the Bible. He's just worried about whether God's Jesus and Jesus is God, and whether God loves everyone, and whether the name of the Lord matters. But at the same time, trying to copy the Israelites in everything that he does now. This lesson again is about how there's a whole story in the Bible that Christianity does not like to mention. Now, let's go to some of the first things. So when you go to and this is going to probably be a long video, but if I can shorten it down, I'll try to. But like when you go to the Bible, right, starting from the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, after the flood, right, and I'll read it. Genesis chapter 10 and verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. Now, everyone that lives on this earth right now is a descendant of those people that came from the flood. Now, let me get this. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 18. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And you've always got people that say that we ain't the Israelites, or people that say, oh, we're false Hebrew Israelites. But they'll say we're false Hebrew Israelites. But you ask these people who the real Israelites are, they don't ever want to say because they're cowards. They'll say with 100% certainty that we're not the Israelites, but they won't say with 100% certainty that somebody else are the real ones. They'll say with 100% certainty who we are not in the Bible, but they can't say with 100% certainty who they are with the Bible. Isn't it interesting? They can 100% guarantee that we're not an Israelite and that we ain't got DNA that's of an Israelite. That's what they'll say. But they can't even confirm to you with 100% certainty their own DNA. So how can they confirm ours? Isn't one of the main principles of the Bible to take the beam out of your own eye? They don't want us to tell the so-called white man that he's an Edomite, right? But then they'll tell us that we're not Israelites. So they're trying to tell us our nationality, but they think that we can't tell somebody else their nationality. Isn't it interesting? It's very interesting how these people have got the nerve to try and think they can tell us what's what, but we can't tell them anything. That's how they think. That's what they think anyway, but that's not the truth though, but that's what they think they can do. Now, when you go to Genesis 17, right? You end up in the Bible, you pretty much end up just finding out about the process in the book of Genesis. You end up going through the process of how Yahweh made the Israelites and chose them. That's what you really end up finding out. Now let's go to this. In fact, Genesis chapter 15 and verse 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Now this is talking about the Israelites. The Israelites is the seed that this is talking about. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. Now this never happened to Ishmael, who was the firstborn son of Abraham, whose name was Abram at this time. This happened to the Israelites. It never happened to Esau, who's also a descendant of Abraham. It never happened to any of these descendants of Abraham. Let's get the names. Genesis chapter 25 and verse 2. And she bare him Zimran. It never happened to Zimran. And Jokshan. It never happened to Jokshan. And Medan. It never happened to Medan. And Midian. It never happened to Midian. And Ishbak. It never happened to Ishbak. And Shua. It never happened to Shua neither. But they'll say that everyone's a descendant of Abraham and all that. We're all the seed of Abraham. But Abraham's literal fleshly descendants did not all go through the same thing. There's a seed of promise. There's a certain specific people that are promised to receive this, man. A certain specific people. But Christianity doesn't like to talk about that because they're not real. Genesis chapter 25 and verse 23. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. And this is going into the Israelites being born and the Edomites being born. And there's a whole story in the Bible concerning the Israelites that the Christianity does not mention. They don't mention that Yahweh has literally locked them into a certain path of going through the blessings and the curses. They don't mention that. But let's go to it. I think I can shorten this video down. Let's go to this. Genesis, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations with Yahweh thy power have given thee. So Yahweh has the Israelites locked into a prophecy and a journey of going through all the blessings and all the curses. Now, in case somebody was to say, oh, this guy don't know what he's talking about, well, when you go to the book of Esdras, it also covers this path that the Israelites are going through, where they are being made to suffer going through the blessings and the curses, right? 2 Esdras chapter 7 and verse 6, there is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field and is full of all good things, and that's the kingdom of heaven, right? Verse 7, the entrance thereof is narrow, which the entrance thereof is all the hell that you have to catch. And there's a certain amount of hell that you have to catch, right, in order to get into being into the kingdom. The day of Jacob, if you want to try and say it's Jacob's trouble, you could say that, but really it's the curses and the blessings. We've been forced into having to go through all of this hell to get the kingdom. We've been forced to. We have to go through. Like all these people trying to say Jacob's trouble ain't gonna happen. No, Jacob's trouble has to happen. Otherwise, we ain't getting a day of the Lord. Guess what? The Atlantic slave trade had to happen. Guess what? Babylonian captivity had to happen. Persian captivity, Assyrian captivity had to happen. The Greek Empire had to happen. The Roman Empire had to happen. The Roman Empire rebirth into the being of which is America had to happen. All of this had to go down, man. Solomon had to go off and cause for us to fall. Right? Deuteronomy 30 and 1 covers all of that. We was going to have to go through the blessings and the curses. We was going to have to be, because of the blessings and the curses, scattered into all these nations. But this is the story of the Bible that Christianity does not mention. They don't mention that this is actually part of the Israelites' journey. All the things that Paul was doing in the New Testament, that is based on him trying to undo the scattering of the Israelites, to gather the scattered Israelites. And that's why he said, and all things that I'm doing are basically for what's written in the laws and the prophets. He was trying to help bring back all the Israelites that were scattered. He literally said, I speak to you Gentiles to save my own flesh, because the Gentiles that he was trying to speak to were his own flesh. Now, some of them might have not been, but he was speaking and going around the Gentiles in general. Because even like here's what's interesting. People are trying to make out like Paul back then. would have been able to know who every single person that an Israelite is, and he wouldn't have been able to know neither. Even though we had our lineages back then, the Israelites that were scattered among the Gentiles might have not had their lineages. They might have not known that information, but the Israelites that were keeping the laws of the Israelites, of their Israelite forefathers, they would have known these things more so, because Paul knew he was an Israelite and he knew his tribe. But every single Israelite that was scattered, they wouldn't have known that, because some of them was calling themselves Greeks. They were Hellenized. They grew up as an Israelite that was Hellenized. Their forefathers were Israelites, but their forefathers were a Hellenized Israelite. Now let's go back to this. Verse 6, there is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. Going into how the path that you have to go through to get salvation is pretty much certain things you're gonna have to go through. And that's why certain men, when you hear them talk, right? When I hear Hebrew Israelites talk now, especially considering the people that I listen to and hear talk, they pretty much sound similar to a certain degree, man. The voice is like Yahweh is making one voice. They sound similar. There's certain phrases and things that you hear from one person that you watch that you'll hear from another person. It all sounds very similar, man. Verse 8, and only one path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could one man go there at once. And if this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, all the blessings and the curses, especially the curses that are part of prophecy that the Israelites would have to go through them, how shall he receive this inheritance? And we as the Israelites was forced to have to go through the blessings and the curses. Now, Christianity ain't going to mention this to you, but Deuteronomy 30:1 is speaking of this. The song that Moses was told to write about the Israelites is talking about this. And if I can, I'm going to try and find a conversation that Yahweh and Moses had in the book of Deuteronomy, the 31st chapter, and show that Yahweh knew that the Israelites was going to go off, right? And told Moses, write this song so that it's going to become basically cut the Israelites. I'm going to find the exact word in a minute. Give me a second. Verse 10, and I said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so is Israel's portion. Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed the statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but a few and evil, full of perils and very painful, because the Israelites have been put in a position where they have to go through all this hell to get the kingdom. Christianity ain't going to mention this. They're trying to make it like God just for everyone. No, he's got the Israelites catching hell. It's actually, when I think about it like this way that I'm going to say now, it's actually like very, like, it's heavy, because the best of what Israelite can be is so far beyond this earth, right? So far beyond what people could handle, that Yahweh has to literally keep him at his right hand side until it's the time to show him, because him being shown to the world is too extreme for them to handle, right? The revealing of Yahweh Shai, the revealing of the best Israelite is like so far beyond what everyone else can handle that they have to be hidden. Whereas the best Moabite, you'll be able to just see them on the news. You know what I mean? The most impressive Edomite, you'll be able to just see or hear about them. You'll be able to know about some of these people. We kind of know about some of the best families of Esau. We can kind of see them. You know what I mean? But the best of Israelite is so vast in comparison to everyone else that Yahweh has to literally hide him at his right hand side, because if and when he's to be shown to the world, the whole world's going to shut down. When these nations see and hear Yahweh Shai's voice, they're all going to stop the battle that they've got between each other, which is going to be taking place in World War III, and they're going to show up to fight against Yahweh Shai, because they're going to know that that thing that they're going to see is too powerful for them to handle one-on-one. So if we even are to stand a chance to overcome this, we all have to team it together, even though we was just literally slaughtering each other in World War III. Forget all that World War III that we was having between each other, and that we just literally shot off ICBMs on each other. Forget all that. Let that go. Like this is how vast Yahweh Shai is in comparison to these people. They're literally going to forget that they literally just destroyed America. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the destruction of America literally leads to Yahweh Shai coming back according to what we believe as Hebrew Israelites, because Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed. But in the same time as Babylon the Great is being destroyed, that's when Yahweh Shai comes back, and that's based on the prophecy that he speaks on in his second, this is the 13th chapter, which for those people that might have not heard this before, I'll go to that quickly. Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse 29. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one of the reasons why it's going to be astonishment, in my opinion, is that during the time of Yahweh Shai's return, World War III is going to be going on. And there's a famous saying in the world, could it get any worse? Could it get any worse? Like, we're already going to be going, as Israelites, I've been going through Jacob's trouble. We're all already gonna have gone through extreme famine. We're already gonna have gone through AI robots slaughtering people, robot dogs running through people, Esau using all of his best weapons of warfare to completely try and minimize and shrink population, right? ICBMs being shot from one country to another, hitting certain key parts. Then the complete destruction of America is going to happen, where all of its allies turn against it, right? And realize that the only way to try and stop this battle and this war that's going on is to completely destroy America, right? But then in the midst of that happening, Yahweh Shai is going to return. People are going to also, I forgot to mention, the MOTB prophecy mentioned in Revelation 13 and 16 is going to take place. People are going to be getting forced or threatened with unalivement to take a micro seep in their body. Like a hell of a lot of things are going to be taking place. And people are going to be like, man, it can't get any worse than this, but it is going to get worse. Because they're going to see Yahweh Shai. And they're going to know that all of that fighting and battling that they did, right? Yahweh Shai is coming to shut all that down. Verse 31, and one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen that I showed you before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man descending. Now, this point that it mentions here in verse 32, right? You can read it, because some people don't like to hear the Apocrypha, right? But you can read about the same thing in a different, detail and different wording. You can read about it in Revelation 6, man. And it took a long time for me hearing the apostles and elders break this down to get this mindset to understand that these things are connected like this, man. But let me read it. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 13. And the stars of heaven fell onto the earth. And that's not going into literal stars. It's going into how the ICBMs look when they're falling, right? They look like stars just falling. When you've seen the footage between like Iran and Israel and all that, and it's nighttime, these things look like it's just a star falling, and you see it fall, explode, boom. You know what I mean? And that's just with the lighter range ones. Verse 13 again, and the stars of heaven fell onto the ground, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Meaning that going into loads of explosions, man. And the heaven departed as a scroll, which is the mushroom cloud, when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, because it's going to cause a lot of damage. Like these weapons are such the kind of weapon that you can't really test it without actually just using it. You can't really test these things. You have to just use them, because the damage that they can do, they ain't really not too many places safe to test these kind of things. Because once you've used it for a test, that place that you've tested it is pretty much uninhabitable now. So it's difficult to test these things. You just have to kind of make them and kind of assume what they're going to do. And they'll be like, yeah, that's what it will do. It's kind of difficult to properly test these things, man. But the real test is going to be exactly on that day. And that's one of the reasons as to why when you go into Revelation 18, all of the nations are going to be like astounded at the destruction of Babylon the Great, because these weapons are too hard to properly test. So nobody truly understands the kind of level of extreme damage that these things are going to do until they see it properly, right? You can kind of guess what it's going to do, but you can't really truly know, man. Just like how somebody, let's say this, to use a more lower level scenario, let's just say that there's somebody that's been training combat sports for a hell of a long time, and they always kind of think, man, I wonder what my punch would feel like on someone's jawbone without the boxing gloves on. Well, you're not going to be able to properly find that out unless you actually have a real fight with somebody, a real fight scenario. And then when they test out their punch level and then they end up just knocking someone's head off, they're like, oh shit, I didn't expect my punch to be that damaging. I caved his whole face off. Well, that's what it's going to be like when these ICBMs get shot. They're going to be like, man, we did not expect it to do this level of damage. We always said it was like a mutually assured destruction, but it ended up not being that because America only is going to be completely destroyed as an end result of this. All the other countries of the earth are not going to be completely destroyed. They're going to catch a ricochet though, but they're not going to be completely destroyed as a result of World War III. Verse 15, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every man, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And that's the same prophecy. That's the same event as what you read in Second Esdras, right? But some people are going to be of the warrior class of Esau and of the heathen, so they're going to be made to fight against Yahushua, right? They ain't going to be hiding. That's the extreme level elites that are going to be the ones saying, hide us from the face of the Lamb. They're going to be trying to run and hide and be like, man, if we'll be safe in here. And they're hoping that these things that they design are going to allow them to try and kind of battle with Yahushua, whatever stupid thing they're thinking in their mind. It's going to allow them to be able to hide in there and battle with Yahushua from within there using whatever techniques they got and whatever weapons that they've still got left. But it's not going to work though. Like Yahushua is going to, like, he's too much. Like, he's like, if for anyone that out there that plays RPG games and all that, right? Yahushua has basically got all the stats. Like Yahweh's got all the stats, and Yahweh's the creator of the game that gave one player unfair, overpowered stats, man. Like it's just overpowered stats to it, so it's not fair to fight against that. It's literally not fair. It's not fair for Esau, who's the lowest of all nations, in every other way apart from the sword. It's not even actually fair that he's trying to fight against Yahushua, but his stupid self still thinks he can try and make it work because he's dumb. Right? He's not wise. He's a fool. They're a foolish nation that lacks understanding. Second Esdras chapter 13 and verse 32. And the time shall be when these things shall happen, when all the nations are going to be fighting against each other, and when they shoot off them ICBMs and destroy America, right? And the signs shall happen which I showed thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. And when all people shall hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to overcome and willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. Now, that's not mentioned in the doctrine of Christianity, but that's an extreme part of the story that should be getting mentioned because it's speaking about the return of the Messiah. But they'll rather say, oh, the Apocrypha's not canonized. But the same points are in the Bible, are in the straight up normal Bible parts that people say are sanctified and all of that. First Thessalonians chapter 1. For First Thessalonians 1 and chapter 4 and verse 16, for the Lord himself shall descend from the heaven with a shout. Now, didn't it mention when people hear Yahushua's voice? Now, Yahushua is called, one of his titles or one of his nicknames or one of his titles is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, right? So imagine a man, and also the scriptures in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 13 to verse 15 says that his voice is the sound of many waters, right? So imagine a man that's called the Lion of the tribe of Judah, that's voice is the sound of many waters, meaning his voice is loud. Imagine him ascending to the earth and shouting. What would that sound like? Would it not sound like a man roaring? Would that not sound like a roar? Right? It would sound like a roar. A man that sounds it as the voice of many waters, and his literal tribe symbol is that of a lion. He's literally called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He's literally called that. That's one of his names, one of his titles, I mean. So him returning to the earth, he's going to be like, he's roaring, man. Now, Christianity doesn't mention this again, but these are extreme things to mention as a story of the Bible, and he's coming to save his own people. He's not coming to save everyone. He's literally coming back to fight the armies of these countries, that them armies are the only reason why they've been able to even say anything to anybody on the earth. The sword is the only reason why anyone listens to Esau, and that's why he spends so much money on it. Even Russia, they spend a hell of a lot of money on war too, man, because they're Edomites too. From heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in the Mashiach shall rise first. Now, let's go to let's get this, because America falling is like the whole. America's literally had a power over this world. Let me go to this. In fact, let's go to this, because America's literally been given the power of control spiritually over the whole earth right now. But when it gets destroyed, that power that spiritual control that it's been given is going to be taken away from Esau too, because America's the control of America right now. So he has the say over how people's minds work right now on the earth, man. Let's read it. Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7. Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that have made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunk of her wine. Therefore the nations, imagine all these nations believe ultimately in the way of America. They might not like Americans, they might not like Esau, but they believe in the way of life that America speaks about. They believe in that way, that loving up, luxurious lifestyle. They all love that. And that's why, even though they might not like America, they're trying to change their countries to be more like the American ways of life without actually being America. So they're trying to take all the good parts of the American dream and apply it to their country. Even Russia. China's definitely doing it. They're trying to apply all the good points of what they would have hoped the American dream to be and apply that to their countries, man, because they believe in the whole America thing. They believe in it. They've drunk of the golden cup, man. They don't want all the wicked parts that it brings though, but the overall idea of America, they want that. And America, Esau, they control that right now, and that's why when you go to Isaiah 13, right? Let's get this. Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 19, and Babylon, the glory of kingdom, than it is. Everyone glories in America more than they glory in any other country in the world. They can talk about the Chinese motor vehicles all they want. People ain't trying to go over to, China's not a melting pot. You understand? Because people ain't trying to go there. Everyone in the world ain't trying to live in China and become a honorary China person. But everyone's trying to go over to America and call themselves American. People ain't trying to you ain't got all these different nations in the world going over to call themselves Chinese. You ain't got that. That's not happening. As much as people talk about the Chinese cars, which the Chinese cars are pretty amazing. The Moabite cars, they're pretty amazing, man. Right? They're they're heavy compared to America's thing anyway. But people ain't trying to go over to, you ain't got like so-called black people saying I'm not black, I'm Chinese. But you'll have an American quick say I'm not black, I'm an American. Or say I'm an African American. You ain't got nobody going over to China saying I'm an African Chinaman, have you? Because China ain't got that kind of power. You live enough people say that I'm African British, or I'm black, I'm British Caribbean and all that. I'm black British. But you ain't seen no one saying I'm black Chinese. That's not a thing, to my knowledge anyway. Verse 19, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellency, which is, the Chaldees is like the most highly favored people of the ancient Babylonians. But now that Esau is the new Babylonians, that's the most highly favored and most wisest of Esau now, which is the Americans. They're the most highly favored ones, man, in everyone's eyes in this world, really. And America's been the hub of how Esau shows, look how smart we are, look how powerful we are, look how good we are, look how much better than everybody else we are. Look at America. Where else is there better to live in the world than America? America is the freest country in the world where you can do whatever you want to do. Women are free. We don't care about your creed, race, color. They say these things, they care, but they say that these things though. America's literally got every nationality there. Every type of every nation that's mentioned in the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, right? Every nation that Yahweh made that exists, you will find at least one of them in America. That's the same thing cannot be said for pretty much anywhere else in the world. Excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, because America is going to be destroyed with fire, right? But when that happens, that brings Yahweh Shai back. And this is not a story that the Christianity is mentioning. They don't speak about these things, man. That's not even part of their doctrine. All they ever keep talking about when they come into Hebrew Israelites is about whether God loves everybody. How comes they don't question this? Surely they've heard us say this too. How comes they don't question the fact that we speak about reincarnation? How comes they don't talk about the new covenant? All they want to talk about is whether God's Jesus. That's all they keep saying. Is Jesus God? And that's not even his name. His name's Yahweh Shai. They're just stupid, man. They're annoying, man. Talking about, hey, can you pass me? Can you pass me? And I'm like, what are you on about? People saying that the Most High is from the seed of David. What the hell are you talking about? How the hell could Yahweh be from anyone's seed when he made all things? He that liveth forever created all things in general. Literally, Yahweh existed before there was such thing as a seed of man. Yet some stupid idiot Christians talking about how Yahweh came from the seed of man. You dumb. Like, what are you talking about? If Yahweh created men with the seed that... Let's get it. I think I remember where this is. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 11. And God said, let the fruit bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. So even when he made the fruits, the seeds in itself, same thing with when he made men, the seed and the seeds in itself, the seed to bring back the man is in itself. The seed, the chicken and the egg, if you want to say it like that, like I've heard one of the brothers elders say over here, was made at the same time, right? But yet these Christians are talking about how the Most High is from the seed of David. I'm like, no. What are you talking about? Yahweh existed before the seed, man. What are you on about? He's the Ancient of Days. But when you're dumb, though, and you're a dumb Christian that's full of too much pork, right? You're going to run your mouth saying stupid things, man. These man still believe in Santa Claus to be trying to talk anything. Like, you got this God like the geezer running his mouth. I wonder if he still celebrates Christmas, the waste man. I wonder if in December he's going to put on a Santa Claus hat, man. And have Christmas crackers underneath his tree and all that. And put tinsel, wrap tinsel, gold tinsel around his tree. Just running up their mouth to Israelites about whether this and that, saying that we ain't real about this and that. But they'll lie to children. And maybe I shouldn't maybe I don't know for certain that he would do that. But I know that Vocab Malone said that Christmas is not a bad thing if you keep that. Okay, it's not in the Bible, but we keep it to blah, 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 blah for our own reasons. And it is in the Bible. Jeremiah spoke about it, but it's a bad thing to keep. What else can I bring out in this lesson, man? I think I'll leave it there, I just wanted to go into how there's a story in the Bible, a whole story in the Bible that Christianity is not speaking about, and neither are they letting people know about the process that's going to take place for the return of the Lord. They don't speak about these things, man. They're not speaking about it. I'm going to end the lesson there. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.